Let me ask you something uncomfortable. How many people did you pass today without ever really seeing them? The person in the elevator, the cashier, the driver next to you at the signal. Now here's the strange part. Every single one of those people could change your life. Not tomorrow, not someday, today. Because every relationship you've ever had, every friend, every enemy, every lover, every mentor, was once a complete stranger. And the only thing that stood between nothing and everything was a conversation. Not a speech, not perfection, just a few brave words. Most people believe they're bad at conversation. That's not true. They're bad at initiating uncertainty because the moment before you speak to a stranger is not a social moment. It's a threat assessment. Your brain is not asking, what should I say? Your brain is asking, am I safe? Here's what's actually happening. When you consider saying the first word, your nervous system scans for danger. Rejection is processed by the brain in the same regions as physical pain, so your body reacts as if speaking could hurt you. Heart rate changes, breathing tightens, muscles brace. This is not weakness, this is biology. The brain's primary job is not happiness or connection, it's survival. And silence feels safer than risk. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Silence is only emotionally safe, it is strategically dangerous. Because while you hesitate, the situation doesn't stay neutral, it decays. The longer you wait, the more your brain builds threat. The imagined rejection grows larger. The moment becomes heavier. This is why people say, I wanted to talk to them, but the moment passed. No, the moment didn't pass. Your nervous system shut it down. Now here's where power comes back into your hands. The first word is not about communication. It's about state change. When you say anything, even hi, your brain receives new data. I acted and I survived. That single data point collapses fear. This is why the first word feels so hard, and everything after feels easier. Psychologically, this is called commitment escalation. Once you've crossed the smallest boundary, your brain shifts from threat mode to problem-solving mode. Before the first word, you imagine outcomes. You anticipate rejection. You freeze. After the first word, you adapt. You respond. You engage. Action changes identity. Now let's dismantle a dangerous myth. People think the first word needs to be impressive. That's false. The brain does not evaluate strangers based on brilliance in the first second. It evaluates intent, tone, facial expression, energy. A confident hello with relaxed posture signals, I'm not here to take from you. A forced, clever line signals, I'm trying to control this. Control triggers resistance. Presence builds trust. This is why simple greetings work better than rehearsed lines. Your nervous system communicates before your words do. Now let's talk about rejection, because that's what everyone is really afraid of. Rejection feels personal, but it usually isn't. Most people are not rejecting you. They're defending their time, their energy, their emotional bandwidth. When someone doesn't engage, your brain interprets it as, I am unworthy. That's a distortion. A more accurate interpretation is, they were unavailable. Chase Hughes teaches this principle clearly. Behavior is about state, not character. Your job is not to be accepted. Your job is to initiate. And here's the paradox. The people who fear rejection the most are often the people with the most to offer because they attach meaning to outcomes. Powerful communicators don't. They detach identity from response. They understand something critical. You don't control reactions. You control actions. Now let's weaponize this knowledge. If the first word is the trigger, then your strategy becomes simple. Lower the cost of initiation. Don't aim for connection. Aim for motion. Say something that requires no performance. Hey, excuse me, quick question. These phrases are psychologically neutral. They don't demand intimacy. They open space. Once space exists, rapport can grow naturally. And here's the final insight most people miss. Every time you avoid the first word, you train your brain to fear it more. Avoidance reinforces threat. Every time you say it anyway, you train your brain that action is safe. This is exposure therapy in real time. You are not becoming confident. You are reprogramming your nervous system. Confidence is not a trait. It's a memory of survived risk. So the next time that word gets stuck in your chest, remember this. Fear is not telling you to stop, it's telling you the moment matters. Say the word, not be, because it guarantees connection, but because it restores agency, and agency is the foundation of influence. Most conversations don't fail because people lack chemistry. They fail because both nervous systems stay in defensive mode. Hi, how are you? Busy. Same. That exchange isn't pointless, it's biological calibration. Small talk exists to test one thing. Is this person safe enough to engage with? The problem is that most people never move past it. They mistake safety for connection, but safety alone doesn't create engagement. It only prevents rejection. If you want a conversation to matter, you have to move from surface validation to psychological permission. And that transition happens through depth. Here's what's really going on. When you ask generic questions, the brain responds with automated scripts. No thought, no vulnerability, no investment. The listener's nervous system stays neutral. But the moment you ask a personal question, not invasive, just human, something changes. The brain shifts from, how do I protect myself, to, how do I explain myself? That shift is everything. Explanation requires identity, and identity creates connection. Now, most people hesitate here because they're afraid of crossing a line. That fear comes from misunderstanding vulnerability. Vulnerability is not oversharing. It's inviting choice. A well-formed personal question gives the other person control. They can answer deeply, or keep it light, or redirect. Psychological safety comes from agency, not distance. This is why depth works. Let's break it down clinically. When someone answers a personal question, their brain releases mild dopamine. Why? Because being seen and understood is rewarding. This is not manipulation. This is human wiring. Chase Hughes teaches this clearly. People don't bond over facts. They bond over meaning. Facts are safe. Meaning is engaging. Now, here's where people mess this up. They ask questions that feel like tests. What do you think about geopolitics? What's your 5-year plan? What's your opinion on the economy? Those questions spike cognitive load. They trigger performance anxiety. Instead of connection, you get withdrawal. Nobody wants to fail a first conversation. So depth must be relatable, not impressive. Good personal questions do 3 things. They reference experience, not knowledge. They allow emotion, not evaluation. They don't require a right answer. Examples. What brought you here? Do you like this city, or are you still adjusting? What's something you didn't expect about your life right now? These questions bypass ego and go straight to story. Story activates memory, emotion, and identity simultaneously. Now pay attention. This part is critical. When someone shares something personal, your next move determines everything. Most people listen to respond. That's not listening, that's waiting. Real listening is a signal. Your inner world matters. Here, neurologically, when someone feels listened to, cortisol drops and oxytocin rises. That's trust chemistry. You don't need to add value. You need to hold space. Short acknowledgments. That makes sense. I get that. I hadn't thought of it that way. These phrases keep the nervous system open. Now let's address the fear underneath all of this. People worry that depth will make things awkward. But awkwardness doesn't come from depth. It comes from asymmetry. If one person is present and the other is performing, tension rises. Depth works best when it's mutual. This doesn't mean oversharing. It means responding with proportional humanity. If they share a memory, you share a feeling. If they share a challenge, you share understanding. Balance maintains safety. And here's the strategic insight. When someone shares something personal with you, they've invested. Investment creates momentum. Psychologically, people want consistency. If they've opened up once, you're more likely to continue. This is why depth accelerates connection faster than charm ever will. Charm impresses. Depth anchors. Now the darker truth. People crave depth because modern life starves it. Most human interaction today is transactional, compressed, and performative. So when someone slows down and goes human, it stands out. Not because it's clever, but because it's rare. The goal is not to extract information. The goal is to create a moment where the other person feels, I can be real here. That feeling is influence, not control, not persuasion, trust-based influence. So skip the small talk, not immediately, but intentionally. Use it as a doorway, not a destination. Ask better questions. Listen without strategy. And understand this. Depth is not risky when done correctly. It is regulating. Tells the nervous system, you're safe enough to be yourself. And when that happens, conversation stops being something you do. It becomes something you should. Most conversations don't collapse because of disagreement. They collapse because the brain detects opposition too early. Before logic, before words, before opinions, the nervous system asks one silent question, is this person with me or against me? That judgment happens in milliseconds. If the answer feels like against, defenses rise, listening shuts down, influence becomes impossible. This is why alignment must come before agreement. Alignment is not saying you're right. Alignment is saying, I'm on your side. And the fastest way to signal that is through what Chase Hughes calls perceived similarity. Two simple words. Me too. Now let's break down what's actually happening. The human brain is a pattern recognition machine. It categorizes people into groups instantly. Familiar, unfamiliar, safe, unsafe, similar, different. Similarity reduces cognitive load. When someone feels similar to you, their brain spends less energy defending and more energy engaging. This is not social fluff. This is evolutionary psychology. For most of human history, similarity meant survival. Difference meant uncertainty. So when you mirror a shared experience, preference, or emotion, you're not manipulating, you're regulating. You're telling the nervous system you don't have to guard yourself here. Now here's the mistake most people make. They think alignment means agreeing with everything. That's weakness. False alignment erodes trust. Real alignment starts with common ground, not opinions. Example, someone says, I hate this city. A weak response, I love it. You're wrong. A smarter response, yeah, it can feel overwhelming at first. Notice what happened. You didn't agree. You acknowledged experience. Experience is harder to argue with than belief. That's alignment. Now let's go deeper. Alignment works because of something called in-group bias. Once someone unconsciously places you in their in-group, three things happen. They interpret your words more generously. They forgive small mistakes. They stay engaged longer. You earn psychological grace. This is why debates fail and conversations succeed. Debates trigger out-group dynamics. Conversations build in-group trust. Now here's the darker insight. Negativity is not honesty. It's separation. When someone opens a conversation with criticism, correction, or dismissal, the other person's brain hears, you're about to be judged. Judgment activates defense. Defense kills curiosity. So if your goal is connection or influence, your job is not to be right first, is to be relatable first. Now let's make this tactical. Alignment can be created through 4 channels. 1, shared environment. You're stuck in this traffic too, huh? This says we're experiencing the same reality. 2, shared emotion. That sounds frustrating. This says I recognize your internal state. 3, shared values. I respect people who care about that. This says what matters to you matters here. 4, shared constraints. Yeah, time is tight for everyone right now. This says you're not failing, you're human. Each one lowers resistance. Now pay attention to this part. It's critical. Alignment must be earned, not forced. People can feel fake agreement instantly. Over-mirroring feels like manipulation. Chase Hughes emphasizes this. The goal is to match, not mimic. You don't need to manufacture similarity. You only need to notice what's already there. Same location, same moment, same weather, same problem. There's always something. And once alignment is established, something powerful happens. People open to difference. This is the paradox. If you align first, disagreement becomes safe. If you disagree first, alignment never happens. Now let's address fear. Some people worry that aligning makes them weak or submissive. It doesn't. It makes you strategic. Strength is not confrontation. Strength is control of emotional direction. Why? Or not surrendering your beliefs. You're sequencing them. Sequence matters. In influence psychology, whoever controls emotional temperature controls outcome. Alignment lowers temperature. Once calm exists, ideas can move. Finally, here's the long-term effect most people miss. When someone feels aligned with you, they associate you with relief. Relief is addictive. They seek you out again, not because you impressed them, but because being around you felt easy. That's power, not dominance, not persuasion, relational gravity. So remember this. Before you teach, align. Before you correct, align. Before you persuade, align. Find the me too. Because when someone feels you're with them, they'll walk much farther with you. Most people think influence comes from what you say. That's incorrect. Influence comes from what your nervous system communicates before a single word lands. This is why presence matters more than charisma, intelligence, or status. Presence is not attention. Presence is regulation. When you are fully present with someone, your calm nervous system gives their nervous system permission to calm down. That is power. Now let's get clinical. The human brain is constantly scanning for threat and safety cues. Posture, eye contact, breathing rhythm, stillness. These signals are processed faster than language. If your attention is fragmented, your body leaks it, fidgeting, checking your phone, looking past someone. These behaviors tell the other person, you are not the priority here. The brain interprets that as low value or potential threat, not consciously, biologically. Now here's the uncomforter. Truth. Most people don't listen. They wait. They plan their response. They monitor how they're being perceived. They rehearse. That cognitive noise is visible, and it creates distance. True presence collapses distance. Chase Hughes teaches this principle clearly. The calmest nervous system in the room sets the tone. If you are grounded, others mirror it. This is called emotional entrainment. It's why babies calm down when held by calm adults, and why anxious people escalate each other. Presence is contagious. Now let's talk about eye contact, because this is where people get uncomfortable. Eye contact is not staring. Eye contact is permission. It signals, I'm not afraid of you. I'm not hiding. I'm here. When eye contact is steady but relaxed, it communicates confidence without threat. When it's broken constantly, it signals avoidance. Avoidance invites dominance from the other person or disengagement. Now here's a key distinction. Dominance is not control. Domi. Nance is certainty. A present person doesn't rush. They don't fill silence. They don't chase validation. Silence doesn't threaten them. Silence becomes a tool. When you're fully present, pauses feel intentional instead of awkward. This shifts power subtly. The other person leans in. Now let's break down the physiology. When someone feels truly listened to, their brain releases oxytocin. Oxytocin lowers cortisol. Lower cortisol means more openness, better memory, higher trust. You don't create this with words. You create it with stillness. Stillness says, nothing else is more important right now. Now let's address a common fear. People worry that intense presence feels invasive. It only does when it's paired with agenda. Presence without agenda feels safe. Presence with agenda feels predatory. This is why manipulation fails long term. People sense incongruence. Your internal state must match your external behavior. Presence cannot be fake for long. Now let's make this practical. Here's how to increase presence immediately. Slow your breathing. Longer exhales signal safety to your vagus nerve. Relax your jaw and shoulders. Tension reads as threat. Anchor your attention on the other person's eyes and voice, not your response. Let silence exist. Resist the urge to fill it. These are not social tricks. They are nervous system controls. Now here's the darker insight. In a distracted world, presence is rare. Rare things carry value. When someone experiences real presence, they associate you with relief. Relief becomes trust. Trust becomes influence. Not because you persuaded them, but because you regulated the space. This is why leaders, interrogators, therapists, and negotiators train presence relentlessly. It's not about charm. It's about containment. You hold the emotional frame, and here's the final principle. Presence creates memory. People forget words. They forget facts, but the body remembers how it felt. When someone walks away from a conversation feeling calmer, clearer, and more grounded, they don't analyze why. They just want to come back. That's the quiet power of presence. No aggression, no pressure, just certainty. And certainty is influence at its highest level. Conversation isn't just social. It's biological. Every meaningful interaction reshapes your brain. Your empathy grows. Your assumptions break. Your worldview expands. When you avoid strangers, your world shrinks. When you talk to them, your identity evolves. This is how cultures change. This is how peace starts. This is how opportunity finds you. Not through grand speeches, but through brave, imperfect conversations. So talk to strangers, not because it's polite, not because it's useful, but because every time you do, you remind yourself of something essential. You are human, they are human, and connection is still possible. Think of the world like a massive library. Every person is a book. Some are short stories, some are tragedies, some are wild adventures. But most people never open them. They judge the cover, they skim the title, they walk away. And entire human lives remain unread. So the next time you're standing next to a stranger, ask yourself, am I going to keep walking through this library, pretending I'm too busy to read? Or am I going to open one page and see what's inside? You decide.